What up, everybody? Welcome to another episode of the History of the Bay podcast. This one is going to be coming to you remotely through the interwebs, but we're still going to get to the full story with our guest today. This person has made an undeniable impact on graffiti, not just in the Bay Area, but on the culture, period, putting out work with the message, putting out work consistently, going into other art forms, other art spaces, other mediums, and really has a lot of messages to say about the world and society and using art for a positive change. And I'm talking about the one and only Heart 101, aka Zarathustra.
Hey,
What up?
right on. It's good to meet you, Dregs. This is our first time talking, and appreciate you. Yeah, proud to be on the show and putting it down for the Bay, like standing up. I love that.
For sure. I mean, this is the cool thing about this platform is just that it provides space for people that a lot of people in the community like that know have always wanted to know more about. And maybe people who don't know are going to get a chance to learn. So I feel like when we talk about your graffiti, like, you made an undeniable mark, like I said, but maybe people haven't heard the full story before.
Nobody's heard it. Yeah,
Nice.
nobody's heard much of any story.
Yeah,
I know.
exactly. Yeah, yeah. So I don't know if we're gonna even get to the full story, but
Yeah, I don't either.
we're gonna get a story. We're gonna get the
Yeah,
story.
we're gonna get a piece.
Yeah. So are you from the Bay Area or did you grow up somewhere else?
Now, I grew up in Wilmington, Delaware, and yeah, and I talking last night with a friend of mine about doing this podcast. They asked me that question too. They were like, "Oh, da da da, like how'd you get here? Where'd you come from, and all this?" And so I kind of ran it down for them, and I hadn't entirely remembered, but um, I grew up in Wilmington, Delaware, which is itself its own place for real. So, and I ended up popping in the Bay at 13 years old, and then popping in the Bay again at 16 years old, and then coming down more permanently like at 18 years old. It was the track line. And I could tell you like the stories of how those little, how I popped into the Bay at those times. I'm not really sure how deep we want to go in certain directions, but and then when I arrived to San Francisco, as an adult, I was looking for a place to be queer specifically. Like I was coming from a place where it was like, Murder City, like the vibes were intense in Wilmington. Wilmington has a lot of doppelganger energy to Oakland, which is kind of a trip to me. But yeah, where I grew up is a pretty like hard-nosed city.
So when you made those trips at 13, is that by yourself or with family
When
or?
I was 13, so when I was 13, my best friend lived down the street or whatever. His mom and their pop broke up and had a divorce, and then she had lived in Berkeley randomly. Like, I'm a kid, I don't know nothing about any of this. She dipped off to Berkeley, and then she paid my dad money to drive her car across the country for her. And so my dad and me jumped in the car and we drove to Berkeley, and we drove to a nice spot in the Berkeley Hills. Actually, it was like really nice spot, beautiful place. And at that age, I mean, I don't know, like it's kind of wild to just think about really the parenting involved. Like I don't even know everything was cool, but we were pretty free. And right at 13, I mean, every day me and my friend hit the BART and jumped off the BART at the Embarcadero and skateboarded at the Embarcadero, in like 89 and shit, to clock my age or whatever. And so I'm like at the Embarcadero, and I learned like the weird stories about it was like, so I jump on the BART at 13. I come up off the BART on Market Street when I was like 13, and right away somebody stepped to me with Hustle. And they just were like, "What's up? Hey, young white boy, come here, come here, come here, come here." And I was like, "What's good?" And they put me on the Gap scam. And I don't know if your generation would know what the Gap scam is, but Gap, like I was in the clothing department, there was a way to get money from the Gap at that time.
You're doing like the
And
return and exchange type of
the
hustle.
return and exchange thing, but this person needed a person that looked like me to go swoop it because you can't go in over and over again, da da da. And so, at that age, I was like, yeah, sure. I went to the Gap scam with this dude and gave him his money or whatever. I don't know if I got anything out of it. But then I did the Gap scam for the next 3 years until I was like 16 or 17 until they shut it down. And so I did that. At that age, there was mad punks and crazy kids at the Embarcadero, and just ran around doing that every day. That was like wonderful. 16, when I was like 15, I wasn't really living at home, and I was bopping around doing whatever I wanted. And I ended up at Ocean City, Maryland, living in a friend of mine's aunt's basement when I was 15. And my mom called me up and she said, I want you to go live with your sister in San Francisco for a little bit. And when you come home, we're going to straighten you out and you're going to go back to school and we're going to jump you off in this direction and da 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 da. And for me, I was honestly tired. Like I was tired at that age already. I was like running around doing a lot of drugs and alcohol and being crazy as like a free 15-year-old or some shit. And when I fucking my sister lived on 22nd and Cap, and again, this weird ass parenting thing. I love everybody and I love my life or whatever. But I arrived and I got off the plane. I went to my sister's house or she picked me up or something. And I was like, what do kids do? And she was like, I mean, hit the 33 and head up to Haight Street. That's what I know like kids like your age do. And so I jumped on the 33 and went up to Haight Street like within 6 hours. And then that's just like, I went all crazy in the Bay, just doing drugs, selling drugs, jumping, bopping around, doing graffiti, low key, like doing kind of like plenty of bad stuff, like getting food and clothes however I saw fit, which was it was really wild. It was wild to like, I stole a pair of Doc Martens. Like, I'm not talking about war stories, but like I stole a pair of Doc Martens, $125. I put them on my feet on Mission Street and ran out that motherfucker. And I was just really like learning fast what that city was like. At that age, Norteños were on me. I looked like a flamer. You know what I mean? I was like effeminate. And I happened to be rocking like UNLV Parkers, because Parker jackets were like it where I was in Wilmington, these big like Parker jackets. I had a red Parker jacket, Besides that, they were on me as a kid. They were on me just for being outside like every second. And that was kind of normal to me because Wilmington was the same. Like Wilmington was worse, to be real. Like it was not as fun. And so it all kind of seemed normal to me that people were chasing me and on me. But the one subtle, like trippy story at that moment was, man, I got chased down by this little group of Norteños dudes, not little, big dudes. And things were different then. That was the 90s, early 90s. And they, Norteños and Sureños, like run the streets down there. And so just absorbing that, and it was trippy, but I did jump down like the full flight of the 24th Street BART stairs. Like I landed like somewhere down in the middle of the like 3 sets of stairs there. I was like some fool was swinging about at me, and I was just running as fast as I could. And I hit that thing up in the air, rolled down that thing. And then at the bottom, there was, some security cops or whatever. And they were like, hey, we got all of that on camera. And they were, like, they brought me in their little office and we're like, look, we see these people trying to attack you like this and this. And, but I was already, I from well before that, I was like kind of trained to like no snitching. Like snitching was like death territory from where I was from. So I was like, I mean, I was already like, now you guys are bitch ass cops because that's just how I was raised or whatever. So
So you basically in the underworld, basically living
yeah,
the street
and
kid life.
I'm not really like, I don't have any feelings about it. You know, like there's a lot of my life where I wouldn't have minded to be like socialized in a way that got more money and had less trauma. But you know, but yeah,
More money and
yeah.
less
I
trauma.
mean,
Sounds
yeah,
like that would
fuck.
make a good shirt.
Yeah, but at that age, I mean, I slept in laundromats and shit down there, you know, and then I made my way back when I was like 18 and a half, and I had a whole kind of different brain then already. And I was focused on being queer and trying to find a place where I could be safe and do what I wanted to do and experience. Like at a really young age, I had a sense of wanting to be free. You know, like I didn't like what everybody put on me. You know what I mean? And also at a really young age, I had like a severe like learning disability, right? And so I had a lot of people telling me I was stupid and writing me off like I was stupid. And I have this strong sense in my head where I was like none of these people know what they're talking about. You know what I mean? I didn't like how all these people were trying to like hold me in and tell me what my identity was. And then my own family like would be like, you seem queer. We're gonna, you know, we're all gonna kill you. We're gonna fuck you up. We'll take you out in the backyard and you know have all the cousins, the whole family's gonna get at you. You better straighten up. Like put your back up. You know, like get your shit together. Like was that energy. So I didn't really like them telling me all that. You know what I mean? So in my head at a young age, I was like, man, I want to be free. I don't fucking like anybody. And so headed to San Francisco, I was kind of on that. You know what I mean? I was like, I need a place to like kick back or whatever. And low key, like in retrospect, I didn't really understand what was happening there at this moment. But in retrospect, I literally stepped into a new white world, yo. I stepped into a new white world. I was like trash where I was from and like getting shook down by the police constantly. Like police would fuck with you all the time, do weird ass shit to you. And then I go to San Francisco and everybody thinks I'm a college kid. You know what I mean? They all were on me like you're a college kid, and everybody was giving me all this freedom and shit. And the East Coast, like, there's working class white people on the East Coast, and I'm not gonna like spin off in all kinds of whatever race trips or whatever. But this culturally was different for me, and I didn't really understand what the fuck was happening. You know what I mean? And like also, I came from a black city, you see, and so it's like 65% black, and I went to schools where I didn't understand this till I was like older. Like I looked this shit up on Google and realized weird ass shit, but I didn't realize I went to schools that were like 2% white. You know, like six white kids in 1,000 big ass schools or whatever. And when I got to San Francisco, white people aren't allowed to look at black people's eyes. You know, like the culture was crazy different. And so I'm like a young kid and I'm looking at motherfuckers like, what's good? Like, hey, hi, hello. I'm looking at you like you're in my community, whoever the fuck you are. And people kept being like, bent. And they would be like, yo, cuz, like, what are you looking at? Like, why are you looking at me in my eyes? And I was like, I'm not sure what was happening. And then I thought I was being checked all the time. And I thought I was just paying my city dues. And so when I arrived, I actually fought all the time because people would just fight me right out for looking at them in their face because I didn't have the right to look at them in their face, but I couldn't understand what was happening. You know what I mean? And it was way different. You know, like the black community was more empowered where I was from. And so they have their own community. They worked everywhere. They were like they have everybody. So if I was a white kid and I said, "Yo, fuck you" to a black person, they would be like, "Hey, fuck you too, whatever." Fuck, I don't get it. And but in SF, if I breathe in that direction, motherfuckers want to get at you bad because the culture in SF and in that territory is fucked up. It has its own history, and it's different than like the migration and like what's being held down in like Wilmington, Delaware. You know what I mean? And so there was a bunch of learning curves. I basically had to learn how to not be from the East Coast with everyone. Like all the white people were like, "Oh my God, like who the fuck?" And yeah, there's so many different trippy dynamics with that, you know. And I jumped in, and in SF, I like, you know, I arrived in like in a weird storyline, but I ended up in a carport little car room in the Sunset with a friend of mine for $150, you know. And the guy that lived in the house had dementia, and he was in late stages of having HIV and AIDS. And so he was drinking a lot, and he's drinking and partying with people hella much and having dementia. And so his house was really crazy, but he let me and my friend, two queer kids, live in his little garage port thing for $75 each. And every morning at like 5:30 in the morning, we took the bus down to the Embarcadero and we worked at the cafeteria for like 4.75 an hour, like minimum wage at that time. 4.75 an hour working at the cafeteria. I'd already worked at a cafeteria. I'd already had like 6 jobs since I was 14 and grew up working as a Polish kid for my family already. You know what I'm saying? So I dipped down to the Embarcadero every morning. We would work till like 6, 7 till 5 or something like that. Feed all the you know, crazy suits and people that work down in the Embarcadero centers. There was a crazy cruising scene. I learned about like the fact that people like have hella much sex in these bathrooms at the Embarcadero. So I was like, wow, this is a wild ass place, city, you know. And that was a trip. And then after that, we would go skate, you know, and just go hit Pier 7 or do whatever. And I was a skateboarder. I skateboarded my whole life. Yeah. And so, and my partner that I was with at the time, they were queer too. And that's Star, right? So that's who I arrived to the city with, which was this, my friend who wrote Star and me who wrote Heart 101, right? And we were both already from the East Coast together. We had already like grew up like stealing together and running little routes and programs together, dealing with like dudes trying to get at us and beat at us. And we were both like effeminate, you know, like so, but we already could navigate the streets or whatever. And so we were just like on the everybody because like, you know, we weren't like you know, if I can say one thing about my friend Starf, who should go down in history as one of the queer writers as well in the city, but Starfag and me, like when we were 17, you know, we were in the car with a friend of ours, this girl, and she asked my friend to get in the back. She was like, "Yo, both of you get in the back. My brother's getting in the car. You know, he's a jock. You know, he's in college. He don't like queer people. So when he gets in, don't say nothing about how you are. All right. When he gets in, don't say nothing about how you are." We're like, all right. And so he got in the car. Right when he got in the car, and my friend Starbucks sitting right behind them, you know, this dude gets in the car. Right when he sits down, my friend just jumps up and is like, "You don't like fuck you, motherfucker, da 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 da." Like, and I'm laughing. I'm like, we're, you know, get out of the fucking car. You get out of the fucking car. You know what I mean? And that I can say it like it's tough, but we were at the short end of the stick most of the time. You know what I mean? Like the reality, you know, the reality was I didn't really start winning in fights properly and winning in street harassment type shit till I was like 20, 22. You know, I mostly got I wasn't strong enough, and I wasn't you know, I had to use, and like as a little kid I had to be about weapons and shit. This is unpleasant to talk about, but that's the reality.
Yeah, thanks for sharing. I mean, I think it's good to get it out in the open because
Yeah, I mean, most people, a lot of, I say most people have this experience, but that's actually not the case. You know, most people I vibe with have this type of shit.
I mean, I just seen this shit happen in the
Yeah, of
city,
course.
you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And like I said, that underworld,
Mm.
it's reality, man. These people
Yo,
are,
if you step across the line, you're across the line,
yeah, yeah.
you know?
Yeah.
Like anybody can get it. If all they got to do is step into the illegal territory, and we all know you're
Well,
here.
also when you talk about like places like Haight Street or Embarcadero or Market Street or downtown, it's like this is what was going on, man.
Oh
And
yeah,
it was all walks of life kind of merging in, like I said, this whole underworld scene, and you got to get in where you fit in, pretty much.
yeah.
What point did you start doing graffiti? Was that back in Delaware, or was that when you
It
came to
was
the
it was
Bay?
in Delaware, and that was weird because like I mentioned that my friend when I was 13 dipped to Berkeley, right? So they moved there, and that was who I went to the Embarcadero with. And my friend used to send me like flicks of personal flicks of like Dream and like spots and like productions and Psycho City and all that. And they were a hella good painter. They wrote Shucks, NSP, and they wrote with Buku One, right? Tion, who
Mhm.
still rocks at this
Yeah.
age.
Shout out Buku.
Yeah. So Shucks somehow was best, like I don't know if they were best friends, but he used to say they were best friends, and they sweated Buku hella hard, and Buku would skate mad sick or whatever. And I met him when I was 16 again, and running around. And so, but at 13, like all through those times, like we would talk on the phone and just like rap with each other every once in a while about life and being best friends from when we were kids and shit. And they would always be like, man, I'm on this graffiti shit, da da da. And so that put me on game in, because Wilmington didn't have that culture. It had like scribble, scratchy culture. And then I was a proper toy, and I wrote Shucks too. And then I switched. I was like, okay, let's do this on the phone. I was like, you rock Shucks on the West Coast, and I rock Shucks on the East Coast, and we're gonna king it that way. And that's what we were thinking as a little gift, And so we had this weird. That was like our game plan, and then I did all that, but I had done drugs and alcohol and had been in pretty foul behavior, wild as a kid my whole life. And then so when I got to San Francisco, I actually got sober, and I went to AA meetings, and I was real scared about my situation because I couldn't read or write very good at the time. You just feel me? And I dropped out of schools many times, like starting at like sixth grade, and then did like maybe 2 years, a year and a half in high school. Um, and my schools that I went to were crazy violent, like they were disturbingly violent. And that that was just a wild thing to endure and look at. Like just seeing shit that you didn't want to see at that age was weird. And so I was really nervous, and I was nervous that everybody was telling me the truth. They were like, you're not gonna be shit. And then the housing crisis was real. The housing crisis was real, and that shit really affected me for sure. That was a tough thing that a lot of people in the country and the world don't entirely understand about the Bay Area. It's like the housing situation, especially in the 2000s for the .com boom type shit. Um, that is not something that is happening everywhere. Like and I was coming from a dynamic where I was paying $125 for my room in Asset or in Delaware or whatever when I was 17. And then moving to SF, I had to like pick up the pace to, $350 to $525 range, until I found some like rent control little spots for a while or something. But the truth is like, I had a nice little spot, and I lived with Chucho in a warehouse and like 40 other people in this place called Little Baghdad. And it was like a crazy like trap house, speed house on Folsom and 24th Street. And I had a long, wild experience in that spot. Like you walked in, and there'd be like dudes posted up on two sides, like facilitating people and to get to your room and shit. Like I mean, like they're serving people basically, and like watching out at the door. And hello, hello, everybody, headed to my room or whatever. And I like lived in an engine room, like a room that had a large oily engine in it, which was whatever. And so that place ended up not working out for too long. And I actually went door to door for a while. That's how I got more of a jump off in the city. I just went door to door at a certain point and just started. I knocked on people's doors.
What do you mean knocked on people's doors for?
uh, to ask if I could live there.
Oh shit!
Yeah.
For damn, how did that go? Did that work?
Uh, this is what I'm saying. It jumped me off in my footing for Frisco because this guy, Mr. Yama, something like Mr. Yamazuzi or some shit, like some long ass name. But Mr. Yama, across from the VG projects, right? The gardens when they were pink and a little bit more trippy. Across from the gardens, there was a print shop. And it was an old fucked up print shop. And I knocked on the door and just said, "Yo, can I live here?" And he was like, "What are you talking about?" And I was like, I'm looking I need a place to live." And he escorted me to the back and showed me this room that was just full, like to the ceiling with paper. He was like at the tail end of a business that was like dying out. You know what I mean? Like he had some big contracts, like where he made like notepads for the airport and all this little thing. So he had these contracts that he was running out, but his business was going under, and he was like in his 70s, and he was a Korean man. You know what I mean? And he spoke like crazy broken English or whatever, which became a factor in our relationship a little bit through misunderstandings. But so he was like, you can live in the back if you want to split the rent. And he didn't live there. And so he put me in the back for $350. And then I went right to work. Like I had said, I'm a Polish kid. I grew up working, it was, proper. So I went right to work and dumped all the shit, swept all the shit, dealt with all the shit. There was mad rats in that place. They stayed, and that was whack. But I did all that stuff, and within like 4 or 5 days, I shaped up the room and was painting pictures, right? And because I already knew what I was on for some reason, and he like really just like tilted his head and looked at me, and he was like, "Man, you're a wild fucking person." Like, and I was just kind of like, I'm a kid. Like, I was just like, shit. I mean, I'm cool. And so, I lived with him for a while, but a soft little side story about him and getting some credit on the block or whatever was just like, he had a problem with me about something. So I was living there like a year and a half, and he had some type of little bit of a problem with me. Something happened, and I leaned back and I said the word motherfucker. And like he was tripping and going on all these directions. I leaned back and I said, "Oh man, motherfucker." And he said, "You said motherfucker to me?" And I was like, "No, I'm expressing it like I'm stressed out." And he was like, "You said motherfucker to me." And so the city's wild. He put a gun on me, and he walked me outside and held me at gunpoint outside of the projects, and walked back and forth and said, "Da da da, you this and this." And he was my friend, and I was like watching his finger and was like, "This, I'm not really on this. I'm scared." But I was thinking to myself, "Damn, like this fool's got all my stuff. Like this is really where I live at." Like, and I didn't even say that to him. And so like I just sat down on the ground and like just like shook my head, and he like walked back and forth for a long time, and it got dropped, and he ended up like buying me dinner over this and saying sorry or whatever. But what it did was it gave me some credit on the block. All the dudes across the street were like, "Yo, that kid, I don't know what's going on." Like, like that weird ass kid, it's got something to do with us because he's living a fucked up life. And so that kind of changed some of my dynamics on the block because people were a little nicer to me, actually.
Wow.
Like people were like, "Okay, we're like, we see that you are in some type of situation." And so that was nice. Not that like people rolled out the red carpet or anything, but what happened from there was I learned that I could trade my labor to immigrants that were gamed up in the city, and that's a lot of people. And that became like a whole path for me. I worked in the Chinese community hella much in my life just because I just was like, I'm a real worker. I can really do that. And if you can trade me some space, then that's what's up. So
So at what point did you get the Heart 101 name?
Uh, Heart 101 was in the sunset when I was sitting at that house in the sunset, and I was in AA, and I was considering graffiti a red flag, right? And so I wasn't allowing myself to do graffiti because I was trying to be straight laced, and I was like, I gotta stay focused. I gotta do something different than I've been doing in my life with like tagging on shit. Seemed fucked up, but then I kind of decided that I loved it and that it was like really something that was in my heart. And so then I was like, what do I want to do with this and what do I want to say? And then I was like, well, I wanted to write heart, but then I put it on the 101 on it like it was an English class, like English 101. And I had been looking at like trying to get educated at that point myself. So I was like, okay, English 101 is like something I'm supposed to do and take because to get back into the lane of learning something. And I was like, okay, so I'm going to go with Heart 101. Like we're talking about the heart, and we're talking about teaching people about the heart, because when I learned about having feelings, to be real, like when I learned about like my soul and type of shit like that, I mean, I really felt like it was the answer to like what all the trouble that was going on with all this drama that I'm mentioning to you. And I actually became like, I tried to become a pacifist, and a lot of my experience in the city, I was saying like, no, I was like, no, and I would be talking to dudes coming at me and I would be like, yo, let's change. I'd be like, let's change. Yo, please, like, let's stop this. And I had been coming from a place where my life, as a kid in Wilmington had been super dramatic with street stuff and awful, like awful. And so, I was trying to be like, let's try to be on a different path or whatever, and people took that as me being corny. They were just like, oh, you're a corny bitch, like da da da. And the people I'm talking about right now are not like hood dudes, really, because like a lot of the hood dudes are on some other shit, like, and they're beefing on some other shit. And maybe 13 or 14-year-olds are like doing this like, you're a bitch, you're not a bitch type of thing. But adults weren't really doing this. These were all like, I didn't really understand this, but these were all kind of a different class of guys that were giving me a hard time. But I took it as what I knew, which was real dudes giving me a hard time. I didn't realize that they were kind of goofy for being in their 20s and really being on this shit, like, but I like, so I don't know, somewhere in there. Yeah. Heart 101. Yeah.
Well, I remember seeing like tags, and I think every now and then like a throw up you would do.
Yeah.
But the main thing I remember is like these big rollers that
Yeah,
you
for
would do,
sure.
like on rooftops, and that imagery of like sink the ship, or I believe heart over capitalism was another one. So where did you start developing like that rhetoric, and what was like the message that you were trying to get across with some of those spots?
That rhetoric's from my family, like I in my Polish family I experienced like that. Like there's kind of like people who are on the PC shit, which like respectful, like I'm with all that. But there's like kind of like, oh, like the jobs are being taken from everybody, like life is fucked up for everybody. And that was like kind of happening at my dinner table, and so like all my aunts and uncles were tripping on that. And and then there's some sort of history with resistance within certain parts of the Polish community. Like I was brought up being told that I was a different set than what was in the public. It's kind of like the way like Muslims rock together, Jewish folks rock together, certain Asian communities rock together. And the Polish community I was in, like, expressed that to me at a really young age, like, you're with us. Like you're not all these other people. And so I had that level of a trip, but there was a very strong thing, which was that capitalism seemed like it took my dad's like heart bad. You know what I mean? Like he was an artist and like he sold weed and was like kind of free and whatever. And then like around I think 6 or 7, 8 or 9 or something in my life, he transitioned into being a video editor for the company DuPont, right? And so he got a job at this like big company where he edited videos that were because I would go on shoots with him and stuff, and he edited videos at this time of like putting like pieces of machinery together, and then you would send that VHS tape video to the factory, and the factory would then basically like do the YouTube thing where they like were like, okay, this is how we put this together, and then they would train all their people, and he would videotape like people doing memos and shit, like doing like live memos, and then they would send the tape off to other people, and something about I think he brought home a lot of anger about the world and just the shit not being the way. Like he did not want to work. He didn't want to be in that position. He didn't want to be with those people, and I absorbed a lot of that. Just thinking to myself like, what man? And I told myself when I was young that I was never gonna let my art spirit die like that. And I was like, I'm never selling out. When I was hella young, I was like, I never am never bending over backwards to that extreme for anything if I can help it. You know what I mean? If you can help it. But so yeah, and just the drama in the house and the drama in the family, I mean, had a lot to do with capitalism and money, and that's just annoying, and so, but what hit me was when I was 18 and I couldn't find a house, and I was in the mission, walking around, like I said, knocking on doors to see if I could live there. And I had a good amount of privilege too. Like I'm a white kid. I'm socialized as a white kid. And I was kind of like, yo, what the fuck is this shit? Like, I didn't know anything was like this. Like, fuck, I can't live anywhere. Like, what the fuck? And then with that energy of like, what the fuck, I looked around and then there was like the Mission Anti-Displacement Coalition and Poder or whatever. And I slid in with them, and they all like kind of chin checked me for my vibe or whatever. But then after that, I got in with that community, and like one of the second places I lived in San Francisco, I lived on Potrero and 24th, and I moved in to a living room with my friend, and everybody's Latino, and just rocking with all of them, and they all had like functions at the Galleria de la Raza, right? And so then I started rolling with them, and they started taking me to places that I had been kind of taken to in Philly as a kid by my mom, because my mom's like a queer person, art person. And, I started going around to different Chicano artists' lofts and shit. And I saw how everybody got down, like Chucho and everybody, and like from Blazo. And, I saw everybody doing everything in their power to make art. Like people are like had like nothing. We'll sleep on the wood floor. We're about this life 24/7. If anything's annoying, kick back and have a beer. You know what I mean? And we're dancing in the streets. San Francisco used to have beats in the streets. You know what I mean? Like there was drum circles in the streets. There was parties in the streets. There was queer parties in the streets, gay parties in the streets. It was a lot more like New Orleans, had a lot more culture. That's all been like, swept aside or dipped and dealt with in different ways. But yeah, so, you can kind of read that, different trips like that.
What was the sink the ship?
Sink the ship was just, yeah, about capitalism, me making a metaphor for saying that we needed to take down this larger ship of capitalism, and I was saying like, let's like break the system and move on and sink it and let's do the next thing. And and I was really into like poetry, and I was really into being like effeminate. You know what I mean? Like in this trippy, and I wasn't like when I was younger, I was already cool with dealing with the fact that I might die on this. You know, I'd been bullied so much that I was like, you know, I was already I wasn't really so I wouldn't really what I'm saying is I wouldn't really negotiate my thoughts based on the straight world. You know, I wasn't like, oh, what are all these other dudes going to think or whatever. Like, I would just ask myself, what do I, in my truest spirit, want to be about? And so I would write stuff on the street like, all we do is crime. All we do is crime. All we do is crime all over the place. And I actually wrote like weird sentences that like hit me like hella deep at that age and like meant a lot to me and stuff. And then I would write it Heart 101 with it.
Mm.
And all through this time, I was like crazy toy, you know, like for kind of different reasons. Some of it was because of the learning disability, and I just had a weird relationship with letters. And then some of it was because I was kind of in this weird place where I was like, I could feel everybody pushing me into graph and being like, you know, tighten up your style, be like this. And I was just like, but how do I need to be me. And so for a long time, there was like this ill-fitting energy where my like graffiti was whack, but I was trying to not be what existed and I didn't know where I was going. You know what I mean? And the shit was, and all I knew and all I cared about was not being like any type of form that was already there, you know, because I wasn't trying to like, you know, this whole time, everywhere I went in SF, people are like, where are you from? Where are you from? And I guess that like fades people or something, but I was like, I'm from fucking Wilmington. I know and fuck where I'm from. You know, respect me, like right out of the gate. Like I respect you, respect me. I'm in your city, but you know, and so and I talk tough. And you gotta remember I was light. You know, I'm 130 pounds or something, 140 pounds at this time. And you know, so, and that voice will protect me, you know what I mean? But you know, I'm saying that because in the regular public, they hear this as violence, you know what I mean? Like street people don't care what I say, you know what I mean? But I'm not trying to, like, I'm not a violent person at all. I never have been,
Were
not at
there
all,
any other writers
but
locally
maybe when I was
were there other writers locally that you were like bombing with or hanging with? Because I feel like I've seen a lot of your stuff just kind of solo. Or but were there other
oh
people
yeah.
that you were
So
rocking with?
it was all solo. Star, yeah, Star moved away, and then it was hard because I did do everything solo. And in the community that I was building like a queer community that like was into art and politics, and I was doing activism with activists and all this stuff. And I wasn't really with anybody who would do graffiti. Really, that was just like my own thing, and it was a 24/7 thing. And I wanted to rock with people, but like the gay shit wasn't flying, and there was nobody else, no one actually. And then like I can a short list, like I mean, Setup from New York, Mudwan, like you know, he's Muslim, and this was like the early 2000s. And I think he rolled up on me one night at like 2 in the morning, and the first thing he said, he was like, "Yo, are you really gay?" We're like 22 or something, like we're young. He's like, "Yo, are you really gay?" And I was like, "Yeah, what's up? What's good?" And he was like, "Oh, all right, all right." So I'm cool, I'm cool. And he's like, "What do you do around here?" Da da da. And I became friends with him, and we painted a lot, set up KCW, killing city walls. And looking back on it, I had thought about it once. Looking back on it, I think his difference was that he was Muslim in the early 2000s, where like the 2011 shit happened and all that. So he was like, he wasn't really finding his people anywhere. And so he rocked with me as like a queer person. Um, and then like all the BKF kids and the US kids, you know, were kind of younger than me, you know, and so there was that. Yeah, that's a really good question. It's kind of intense. I don't think I can say I painted with much of anyone. Yeah, unless you saw something.
And was there, I mean, you're kind of hinting at it anyway, or not even hinting, but you're kind of saying it anyway. So was there a lot of like resistance from the graffiti community about you being openly gay? Were
Oh yeah,
people trying to step to you? Were people hacking you out? Were people
they hack me out now. I like right when I hit the street, and people hack me out on Spirit. They don't even know nothing. You know what I mean? But in New York, day one, I'm right, and then people are hacking me out here. You know what I mean? And it's kind of a trip because I do look at it and I'm like, damn, like the ladder I'm climbing is a trip. Like, because a lot of other people don't get dissed like right when they put their shit up, and but my shit gets dissed like mad fast or whatever. And in terms of resistance, um, I mean, I was like, what was trippy, nobody really understood it. Like the graffiti kids were all definitely, on me. I was on site for years in the city, and I stood up on site, like I was on site with probably like 75 dudes or something. And that's so that, and like, right. That, and so I
it
don't know
was
how that
just on
reads
the strength of you being a gay person?
and not fucking stopping. And not stopping. This is motherfucker saying, yo, you need to stop. Like, you need to leave the city. You need to get out of the city. You need to bounce. You need to quit. We're not having this on our streets. We run the streets, da 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 da. And I would say, okay, bet. I got what you need. Come get it. I got what you need. Come get it. And people didn't shoot as regularly back. We didn't all shoot that like this. Like now, you're going to get shot fast in the bay. Oof, you're getting lit up. But at this time, people didn't really shoot, so I wasn't on that. And then, straight up to the community, you weren't as tough as the kids in Wilmington. That was, and I didn't really understand that. I got ready for war, and they fucking brought like little ass shit. But they got me a bunch of times, and this is like, I'm at art shows and shit, and homeboy is like, shout out to Gesso. Gesso runs at me. I don't even see this motherfucker or know this motherfucker. And he, bear hugs me and slams me into a parking meter like a football tackle, puts a bruise on my back like this big on a parking meter, and evade. And, Gesso, jumped me a bit then, whatever. And I hung tight and handled business or whatever. But that's at art shows. And then all these motherfuckers that I'm trying to build with at art shows are like, we got to stay away from this guy, this weirdo in a dress who fights all the time. They're mad violent. And then in the straight world and in the art world, they kept seeing me getting jumped. Like I was fighting like 3 times a day sometimes. And the other side of the community was that regular dudes were on me. Regular dudes were on me. So regular dudes would be on me, and then the dudes were on site with me, and I was doing my push-ups and carrying weapons.
So these dudes jumped you and fought you. I'm just really trying to get this straight, bro, because here's the thing. I'll say this to you straight up. I'm from San Francisco, right?
Yeah.
Like you said, the hood
I can tell you about it.
The hood, the respect, all that. We're not really out here giving that much a fuck about what you do sexually, your preference. We don't care, bruh. Like we grow up, if anything, like knowing about
that's the hood.
Cool. Shout out Harvey Milk, Castro. They over there doing their thing. Our cousin might have this.
And we should
it's in our family. We know about it.
And everybody's
accepted. Yeah, we understand it.
That's
I'll even tell you too, like this is an unknown fact. I'll just say straight up.
Right.
There's a lot of hustlers in the drug world that's where they're getting their money from. So it is what it is.
Oh yeah.
I feel like I just want to say that I feel like there's writers who come from that who are like born and bred and fed in the hood in the city.
Yeah.
And then there's like these out of towner dudes.
It was
bring other energy that's like, bro, we're not even on that type of time to be.
Because you look like a sucker being on that shit.
Yeah, it's like, what do you want? Here's my theory, and obviously this is a tough nut to crack in one podcast, but my thinking is, if another man makes you feel insecure about your sexuality or about Sorry, excuse me. Let me get this straight. If another man's sexuality makes you feel a type of way, it probably means you're insecure about your
Yeah.
sexuality.
Or like oppressed or fucked with or abused.
Something, but it's just like, bro, why does this bother you so much that you would want to cause physical harm to somebody? I don't get that.
I mean, yeah, it's very plain Jane obvious that it's a trippy ass reflection of when
Some internalized shit. You got some internalized
but I do
shit
want to
going
speak
on.
on what you're saying, which is, and this is public, and I will say that I was in San Francisco because all the street and all the tough dudes had tolerance and they rocked tolerance, yo. And that blew my mind at 18, 19, because I would watch out queer people speak to people from San Francisco and everybody would be cool. And I was like, oh shit. I was like, there's like there's a place for me here because there's tolerance here. And like, with all the stuff I do, I have never had like a righteous, like hardcore, street, prison dude, anybody ever pay me any mind or at all. People are just like, you do you, you're good. Like nobody who's tough has any time for this stupid ass shit. It's not about money. None of it's about money. And when I was young, that's what I was saying to myself every day. I was coming from a real place. All these people are jumping me and attacking me. And I was like, yo, none of this is about money. I'm trying to survive. This is like a different, like, what are we doing? How are you surviving? Why are you bothered attacking me? Like, I just need to get money. I need to survive. And like, that's street culture from what I understand. If it ain't about money, then, what the fuck, why would the fuck would you deal with shit? You know what I mean? Like, and heart over capital comes from money over bitches. It's the switch up on money over bitches. So money over bitches is what street slang for a way of life. You know what I mean? And I'm not with that. I'm like, pimps down, hoes up, pimps down, hoes up all day. And, but money over bitches, I looked at that and I was like, I don't like money over bitches. I'm going to say what I think it should say, which is heart over capital, and say what I think it really is. But yeah.
Well, another thing I did hear back in the day, and you kind of mentioned that too, is that like I heard you also like held your own and like you like plenty of dudes up and
yeah,
people try to step to you and you fucked them up like that.
Yeah.
Which is also like, yeah, I've heard of that. Like, you don't know gay dudes that's with the shit because I've seen
then you haven't been around.
Yeah, I've seen that go down too. Yeah.
That was all through my life. I mean, there was like, a couple of queer people and that fought every day in my schools that I went to and stuff. And I was mostly looking at the situation like, damn, that's rough to be out. If you're out at 16, you're fighting 3 times all day, but yeah, most people know that. And anybody who knows like the deeps and dregs of it, they know that anybody can swing I'm far from street life. I don't want to have nothing to do with it, but anybody can get got however they need to. And that was important for me to learn. And that's important for women to learn too, because women are out here scared, dealing with shit. And any woman can fucking cut your throat. You can bake a cake, you can build a bomb. You feel me? You can bake a cake, you can build a bomb. And so anybody can get it. And there's nobody needs to be disempowered in this world. And nobody needs to be violent, but we have the right to self-defense. And women should know that. They can poison your ass. You want to fucking violate me repeatedly? You get your ass poisoned. Walk into the motherfucking Tenderloin. Talk to some motherfucking dudes about getting poisoned.
Yeah.
Because I lived in the Tenderloin for 20 years.
Yeah.
You'll get your ass poisoned. Come have another drink after you do some weird shit.
Yeah, you can get got by any means. I think that's another thing about us being here from the Bay is we are given that revolutionary type of mindset of self-defense, self-determination, respect.
Yeah, the Panthers.
Yeah, some Panther shit.
Movements.
Yeah.
All that. And shout out to all the Asian communities. Like everybody, fucking Frisco and the Bay. Yeah.
When you tell me the story about you getting jumped, at an art gallery. Uh,
Oh, that was like multiple times. Yeah, for sure.
that's like
Fucked up my game.
that's like years ago, right? Has anyone? I mean, there's also like not making any excuse.
Mhm.
There's
Oh,
also something we can address, which is like the fact that young men, when you're young, you do stupid shit thinking that this is what being a man is or being tough or whatever, and that leads to misogyny,
yeah.
homophobia, whatever. No excuse, because I never did. I never did no type of shit like that at any point in my life. But I'm just saying, do you have you ever heard from someone that was getting at you like that later down the line that came across and was like, "Yo, my bad, I was on bullshit."
Oh yeah. Oh, almost everybody. They all got daughters now, and they
Mm.
all own houses and shit. And they got like hella, like hundreds of thousands of followers on IG. You know what I mean? They got a lot more than me, and nothing's over for me. You know what I'm saying? Like other all sorts of sets of dudes and sets of crews and people that tried to do all kinds of stuff to me. People apologize to me all the time, and when they apologize to me, I let them know that that they're in danger around me. You know what I mean? Because ain't nothing over yet. Like, and I'm not trying to fight with nobody, but I mean, I don't know what the fuck's hunky dory, at all. Because the shit, I don't have daughters. I wasn't like, put in a position to have some type of life like that, because you get marked out everywhere you go. That, it's just how it is. You don't really, yeah, I mean, I could have probably like steadfastly tried to code switch for the rest of my life, but I really only code switched for a little bit in my life,
Yeah,
you
I
know?
feel you because I mean, there's certain people, not very many, but certain people where I'm like, just on protection, it's like
Mm.
if it is what it is. Like you put me through something, and I'm gonna have to respond accordingly. And the best thing for you to do is just stay the fuck away.
Yeah, well, I mean, I'm not even that trippy about it. I'm more like the best thing you can do is give me an opportunity, you
Mm,
know, be real, because that's what I say to these dudes. I'm saying,
mm,
put me on your shit.
mm.
Give me some money, put me in the museum, put me in one of these goofy shows, like whatever those street art shows are or whatever. But then at the same time, when anybody does call, it's like all those things are so low money and so whatever.
Yeah, I'll be like, you can keep that shit. Just stay
I
away
know.
from
So I don't even, I'm not really sure, but I mean, they could like, like, yeah, that's weird. Like, well, all that stuff, a lot of people are just like, this fool, like, put me on. Like, everybody sweats me as an artist and sweats me as a street worker, like, person in these kind of ways. But, they don't put it on Instagram and let everybody know. Like, you're doing it now. And you're like a youth when I was coming up, you know what I mean? And you're also responding to like the love nature of my work. Like we're talking about a lot of drama, but like the flip side of this, all this drama I'm talking about, all of it is translated into love through the artwork. You feel me? That's my solution for healing myself and to calming myself down is to like take these things and put them into possible change, put them into game for younger people, um, and to really try to like you know fix some of the things that I'm so sad about. Like, oh, I'm sad that I didn't have these opportunities, or sad about this or that. So I'm trying to make them for other people, and
That's awesome. Yeah, I mean, I think, like I said, locally, I can't speak for anybody who felt different, but me and my friends, like I told you before, it's like, yo, have you heard Hard 101 is a gay dude? Oh, for real? Okay, that's tight. Oh,
oh yeah,
he got that spot. Respect. And the
yeah,
messages were very clear, and it did definitely writing the word heart. Definitely did do something. You know what I mean?
yeah.
I think maybe that's a good point to like transition the conversation towards your other work.
Mhm.
Because was there a certain point where you just stopped writing heart?
Yeah, it fell out for a while, and Stop Men stuff popped in, and Heart Over Capital, and um, I don't know, but maybe a good many years ago, I started to just be on the Stop Men trip for a while. But then I softened up, and now I'm on like it says Heart Stop Men.
Mm.
Best as I could do. Another, like in terms of softening up.
Well,
Shit.
your focus has been less on
Hey.
graffiti and
Oh yeah.
oh, go sorry, go ahead.
Oh no, I'm gonna send you the footage of this, but you know, something that went viral and went kind of crazy is I tried to hit up Orphan, because Orphan did the tunnels. You know what I'm talking about? How Orphan rode through the tunnels. And I was like tripping on some idea, and I tried to write "Stop Men" from the Embarcadero to Twin Peaks, and I tripped on this hard. I was like, just took me 3 or 4 months to vibe on it, but I'm gonna send you footage.
Okay, dope.
Yeah, and it was something it was a mistake
Oh,
because I did that shit, and like Sunday night I'm be playing. Allegedly, I like participated in watching people do it, and then that shit happened, and the next morning it flew up on Reddit. And on Reddit, I woke up and I was watching Reddit, and it was like, 50, 100 comments like every minute. And the comments were like, we're going to kill this person. We hate this person. This is Zarathustra. Zarathustra did this. This is where they live. This is where I was like, these comments, I'd never seen anything like this. And then 2 hours later, the city of San Francisco took it down, and it said this post has been removed by the city of San Francisco for blight of content or something. And so the whole incident just disappeared. And I'm cool with that because I got a little wild to write "Stop Men" from Embarcadero. That stirred up a lot of regular people's trip. And I didn't do it on property or nothing. I did it in an artistic way. There was nothing illegal about it. It was all love, but it twerked a lot of crazy men's spirit, boy.
yeah. I mean, that's kind of what I was like getting at earlier too. Is like if you're secure in yourself and your masculinity and your identity, then like what the fuck?
This went countrywide at least. And it's like the people that were writing this shit and doxing me, they were doxing me online. And the people that were doing that were like from Kansas and shit. Like it was like,
yeah, right now, like these kinds of guys are kind of being emboldened and empowered because it's like the whole idea that men are under attack or men are being oppressed is kind of like prevalent right now.
things are better than they were. I'm a punk person. I've toured across the country in a dress, like back and forth across the country, doing shows night after night, all across the country, and multiple times, multiple years, and they were more emboldened. Uh, more emboldened. I think some of the race shit, they're more emboldened now, like just outwardly saying shit, but things feel less dangerous to me, honestly.
So just really quick while we're on the subject, what is the message of Stop Men? Explain that.
It's really to each its own. I try to not speak on it
Mm.
too much. When I first got into it, I had a big chip on my shoulder, and I was really saying something about it. You know what I mean? But as an activist in San Francisco, and as a like hardworking activist, like I worked during the day, I worked afterwards as an activist, and then I would work at night, and I would do the whole day long. And I did Prop L, 215, what 594, who knows, all the motherfucking props, all the trying to get radical people into mayors, all fighting for housing. Nothing worked. And a prison system, stop sending our folks to jail. This is crazy, right? That's very clear, and nobody's even on that. Stop with all that. Stop kidnapping children. Stop doing all this. And so I was depressed about it, and I was like, man, everything I've been doing for like the last 10 years fails. Like nothing works. Like nothing I've done matters. And I was like, what is all this about? And I sat back and I was like, who's running this shit? You know what I mean? Who does everything? I don't run 1,000 conversations right now. Like please don't evict me. It's Stop Man. Oh, stop Free Palestine. Yeah, definitely Free Palestine. But I ain't talking about Free Palestine. I'm talking about Stop Men. period. Because, and somebody's got to answer to it, because Martin Luther King says the greatest purveyors of violence in this world is the USA, right? And I'm switched that up and I said the greatest purveyors of violence on the planet is men. And that's a motherfucking fact. You know, we're talking about mad violence. And like if you kick it with women or whatever, all your old ladies have experienced violence before this. Your mom has experienced violence for this. You know what I mean? And it's like I've gone out with trans people in my life, been in love with trans people, men and women, all through my life, different partners or whatever. And everybody that's under the thumb really fucking feels it. Like, you know, like I'm living in the Tenderloin with partners that come home, you know, being chased, coming home from a waitress job where they're getting harassed as a waitress, you know, falling on the floor crying. Fuck, stop, man. You know, for real. And plus all the violence that I endured just as a queer person and all that. So yeah, stop, man. My bills, stop, man. I mean, this whole system's crazy, yo. Like, we're so far away from our spirit. We're so far away from love. And Bay Area cats have that. San Francisco has that. That's the core, and Oakland and Richmond and Vallejo. Like when people catch people are hella rude and mean in the Bay. You know, like we're nicer on the East Coast. It's different. We're open and different, but people are trippy in the Bay, but it's only before they find out where you're from. And if they catch that you're from the soil, the love opens up. And then we're in this other space. And that other space we all communicate in. And within that space is where it's at. You know what I mean? And that's like the native culture. And that's the rhythm and the plants and the art and the sunshine and the murals and the love and stuff. Everything else is crazy. You know what I mean? So, you know, I mean, I don't know. I can go obviously in a bunch of directions with it all, and we got to touch down on the love though for sure. Because everything ever, I have zero unpositive days in my life. You know, I'm 100% positive. I don't complain about nothing at all. I don't complain about anything. You know, I might say what it is, but I'm cool.
So for you, in recent years, the focus has been less on like bombing and doing graffiti, but more on like you make your living full time as an artist.
No, I've never made a living as an artist. No, I'm a street person. And yeah, I've made my living in the Bay as a street person, and I'm rich.
But your art is more like I see you do. I mean, I'm looking at the stuff behind you, your clothing.
There's no art world. There's no art world. You know this as a music person, probably. There ain't no art world. There's no art world. You know, that's like it's a completely fake reality. It's like worse than the NBA. Like, I'm a basketball player. Do you know that? No. Like, a lot of my experience, my name's Skittles. I'm Skittles from the Bay. I played basketball on West 4th in New York. I played basketball all through the Bay. Motherfuckers know me, and they also, you know, they know me in the Bay, because you have to hold your own to play basketball. Like, I played basketball on 6th Street at that rec center, 6th and Folsom, like for 15 years. And everybody's coming straight out of time and rock hard and twisted as fuck. Nice dudes, but you know, you got to be able to hold your own to play basketball down there. And I've always been nice, very nice, you know. And when my family played basketball, and I'm from a black city, you know, I was an anomaly because I could cross 5 people up, everybody on the team, and do all that shit to them. And I hurt everybody's feelings on the court. Bop, 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 over and over again. And you can go through Hunters Point. You can find people in my peer group who go all through the city. Say, hey, you heard of that motherfucker Skittles? You know Skittles? They'd be like, that fucking queer ass fucking faggot ass motherfucker. You know, like, you know, could rock. But, you know, Skittles is short for gay. Do you know that? Yeah. So Skittles is, but I took that name. Mm-hmm. You know, Skittles is like the rainbow.
Yeah, it's the rainbow.
Yeah, so it's like that's short for being gay. And I had many different basketball names and whatever, but part of what your people are seeing in me now is I retired from basketball because I don't have ACLs anymore. I ripped both my ACLs. And so I'm retired from basketball. So I used to play basketball like 25 hours a week and plus recovery time. And so now that's all towards art. And I used to have 3 jobs. I was a building manager for the last 7 years in Oakland, and I was a building manager at 16th and the South Van Ness in the Redstone for almost 5 years. Uh, and I can fix windows, I can fix floors, I can fix roofs, I can build shit, I can be charming, I can be diplomatic in the building and all this stuff. But presently I'm on the run just for life. Presently I'm having trouble. I don't want to give like any amount of work trade right now for free rent. And I basically have just, again, I walked away from everything in my life, but except for money. I have money in the bank, and so I can do what I want.
If people want to support you in your work, what's the best?
They need to heal. They need to heal and investigate their spirit and become solid with the truth. Heal, investigate your spirit, and get solid with the truth. And then let's all just, from that headspace, transmit a new reality. Everybody can stop what's happening right now. The very first thing in the process of change is acknowledging the problem, right? So nobody's on that. Nobody's doing the very first step. So we all got to take the very first step and hold ourselves and look at what's up. But I'm going to be real. It is very tough to do that within the capitalist culture of needing to pay rent. You know what I'm saying? So if you need to pay rent, you got about a half a minute to be on the truth and about your spirit. And it's rough. It's damn near impossible to make the time to be on your spirit and to look for the truth and to meditate and to speak if you speak the truth in the society, you're done. You can't speak the truth, Dregs. I know you can't. I know you can't. You cannot walk around speaking the truth. I can speak the truth because I'm lawless and they haven't got me yet. So I'm going to fucking speak the truth. That's it. And it's just always been that way. It's like, but nobody can. And as soon as you do it, man, they get at you so fast in every fucking department of the world. Like as soon as you're like, and capitalists are snakes, yo. I want to say one thing about street culture, which is that for all the street kids out there and all the street dudes and queer folks, one thing about street culture is you have to unlearn it to play the game of capitalist culture completely. Capitalists are diplomatic. Street people are not diplomatic. We go nose to nose and handle business. That's a mistake. If you do that in the capitalist world, you'll be shut down and removed, right? Street people, we all got taught to learn who liars are. Having a liar in your circle is a no-go, right? 0 on liars. Fuck liars. And we read that. You're a danger to me. You're going to lie. You're taking things. You got sticky fingers, whatever. You're in danger. All capitalists are liars. So that fucked me up because everybody I was shaking hands with in the art world and in the business world and in the job worlds and shit, as soon as I would come near to them, I'd be like, oh, this fool's a snake ass motherfucker. And I would think I need to stay away from them. But they actually had the keys to money, and they got the keys to like survival, to getting a house or apartment, whatever. And so that I had a really rough learning curve with that because I as a street person, I had always thought I was doing right because I was standing on business, but that has nothing to do with being a lying ass snake to get by in this world, which is what is required to survive and get money here. Like every single person pretty much who's getting money, how it has to be on the backs of other people. And that's a fucked up system, but people can address shit however they want to address shit. A lot of it has to do with food, discipline, how much you can, like I know that I can fast for 30 days. I know that I can eat, rice and vegetables for years, to be facts. I ate at a homeless shelter, St. Martin de Porres, twice a day for 5 years to get by in SF. People could do more to be revolutionaries.
Well, I appreciate you sharing your story for the first time in this much detail, and and being down with my platform, and
thank you, Dregs.
For what it's worth. You definitely played a role in this history, and you deserve your shine. And I'm just glad that we could connect, and hopefully people will get some inspiration and some knowledge and some truth that they need to hear from listening to this conversation.
Definitely. Be gay, do crime.
Okay, everybody, you heard she, they, them. Sorry, excuse me. You heard the person.
God and goddess, whatever. I'll take it.
Zarathustra, Heart 101. Thanks for watching, everybody. Peace and love.
Thank you so much.
Recognize where you got the game. We got our own style, got our own slang. Northern California is a West Coast thing. This is the history of the Bay. Recognize where you got the game. We got our own style, got our own slang. Northern California is a West Coast thing. This is the history of the Bay.